Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's a Tuesday night hack show. I used to do these on Wednesdays, but yeah, so today we're doing a ranking of the albums of one of my absolute favorite bands of all time, Extreme. And I thought, who better than do a ranking show than bringing back my good friends, Pete Pardo and Martin Popoff. Hey, guys, how are you?
Doing fine. Looking forward to this.
Cool. So usually when we start these, I always go around and just ask you, like, what was the first time you came across the band, and or what was your first exposure to Extreme? I'll start with you, Pete.
Jeez. Honestly, I don't even know if I heard the first album before I heard Porno Graffiti. I think I actually heard Porno Graffiti first. They came out fairly close to each other, but I think the first song I heard was Decadence Dance, and that pulled me in pretty quickly. I like guitar music, and that's got some pretty serious guitar on it, and I was like, all right, this is kind of funky, it's kind of metal. I'm like, I'm in. So that was it for me.
So the first album you bought was probably Porno Graffiti then, was it?
Yeah.
That's I think that's going to be a common thread here. Martin, yourself?
What Pete just said is really creepy, because literally every single word of what he just said was almost exactly what I was going to say. And
no, we didn't heard that.
I think I kind of don't know, because of that stupid album cover of the first one, right? It just seemed like another hair metal album, and I'm not sure I heard it first. I think it was Porno Graffiti first, Porno Graffiti or whatever it's called, and it probably was Decadence Dance. Decadence Dance. Is that what it's called? Decadence Dance?
Decadence Dance, yeah.
Decadence Dance as well. So yeah, it's odd. But yeah, I think the first one, even if I did hear it, it might have kind of gone in one ear and out the other, because it's kind of a little late in hair metal's thing. Mm-hmm. And so even if I heard it, it didn't make as much of an impression as Porno Graffiti did.
Yeah, I for me, it was the same thing. It was that record, but it was Get the Funk Out. When I heard that and the guitar solo, and I still think that's one of my favorite guitar solos of all time, and that kind of pulled me in. And that was the first album that I bought. And then I followed them. I saw them live. Actually, you're familiar with this venue. I saw them at Roy Thompson Hall on the Three Sides tour, and that venue is like acoustically awesome. Like it's probably the best sounding hard rock band I've ever seen. And they brought the horns out and everything, and they were just absolutely incredible.
That was with Saigon Kick supporting, right?
Exactly.
I was there.
There you go. Yeah, that was a great show, man. That was an awesome show. But yeah, they had
Wait a sec. You said Roy Thompson Hall, Massey Hall, right?
Oh, sorry, Roy. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Massey Hall. Yeah. But yeah, they had they should have been a much bigger band than they were. Unfortunately, I think they had two issues. Their timing was they were about 5 years too late, and the second thing that really killed them was they became popular on a song that did not represent what they did. My buddy's Mike, who's been on the channel before, tells me the story. He used to work at a record store, and this old lady comes in one day and she's like, what's that song, More Than Words? Who sings that? So he gets the Porno Graffiti and he sells it to her. I think she came back like 2 days later. This is disgusting. This is not what I bought. I wanted more songs like this. Because so that kind of sold them, made them worldwide, but they got branded with that, and that I think really derailed them. Like, Porno Graffiti did really, really well, but Three Sides, and I guess, and the beginnings of grunge too, which is the timing part of that kind of did not do as well. And then they've sort of together and solo projects and then they get together. And like right now, I've been hearing about a new album. I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing about a new album from them that's been recorded and ready to go for like the last, I don't know how many years now. But yeah, they're a victim of circumstances, band, for sure, for sure.
They must be hanging out with John Sykes.
Well, they're at least like they're doing stuff, right? Like they're
Yeah.
out there doing stuff. They're doing, either solo projects. I mean, Nuno's, who's playing with Rihanna for a while, and he's got solo bands, and he still tours and stuff. But yeah, Gary's got solo. Gary, of course, Van Halen for a few years there. But yeah, they're definitely a victim of circumstance.
Well, the More Than Words thing is crazy, right? I mean, Martin and I did a whole show on Sea of Tranquility about a month or two ago about those songs that really don't fit on an album, but do amazing for a band, and almost kind of gives the general public this misconception of what they're all about. And that's the perfect example of it right there. And you have to wonder, would that album have sold so well without that hit single? So
Well,
it's like,
the story goes that wasn't the first single. That was like the third one they put out.
Yeah.
And that's the one that hit, because that record would have died had it not been for that song. So there's blessing and curse at the same time. But, yeah. So as we go along here, thanks everybody for joining us. We got 28 people here right now. If you have questions as we go along, make sure you throw a bunch of question marks in front, and I will try to address those as we go through. So we're going to start from, they've only put out 5 records, so top 5, there's only 5. So we'll start at number 5, and then we'll work our way down to number 1. So I'll just go in the order. So Pete, you're right next to me, so we'll go Pete, and then we'll go Martin, and then myself. So what's your number 5, Pete?
I'm going to go with Saudades de Rock, or however the hell you say that, from 2008. That's
Saudades de Rock.
How does it say that?
It's Portuguese, and that's my heritage. It's Saudades de Rock.
Saudades. Okay, cool. I've been saying that wrong for years. Anyway, cool.
Sorry.
Good to know that finally. Learn something new every day. Yeah, I mean, it's a good, solid record, right? It's a little bit long. That's the last thing they've done. I don't find this album, I don't find the songs as memorable. There's a big, long break in between this and Waiting for the Punchline. I mean, quite a lot of years. But, I mean, really good guitar playing on it, as you would expect from Nuno. The vocals are fine. There's some really good tracks on here. Flower Man is fun. I like Star a lot. Take Us Alive, Comfortably Dumb. A lot of very solid, fun songs. It's not as immediate an album. And I get fatigued going through this record. I mean, it's just like there's a lot of tracks. It's long, and it's just not as catchy, fun, and immediate as the other albums for me. And, maybe it's because it's the last one they did, and, you have a little more history with the early ones. I don't know. But, I mean, I do like it. I just don't like it as much as the other ones. So, for me, that was an easy slot in at number 5.
That's really interesting what you said about. Okay, cool. Martin, yourself.
Okay, I have an easy slot in for number 5 as well. I'm going for Waiting for the Punchline. I did a really good comparison. I remember at the time when it came out, I thought kind of the same thing Pete was saying, but about this album, that I found it very kind of dour and slow, and a lot of things where there's a lot of bass and then casual guitar from Nuno coming in, not very hooky. Cynical was pretty cool. I definitely don't like this weird genre thing that I kind of described as psychedelic Beatles, that a lot of these hair metal bands did when it got to the grunge age. They tried this psychedelic thing, and you can spot songs across all of these albums in the mid-90s that are like this. Yeah. They do a fair bit of that. Naked is like that. They got the Led Zeppelin Sitari one on there. But yeah, there's just this Leave Me Alone is like a little this psychedelic Beatles thing. Naked is a little bit like that. Evangelist, slow, casual, bluesy. I'm kind of looking at my notes. Shadowboxing, slow, bluesy, dour, grunge. It's got a ballad. The last one, Waiting for the Punchline, slow, psychedelic, casual. So that's kind of the theme on that one. I went through it again fresh to see, do I like any of these songs very much? And it just seemed like this album that was trying to be grungy, for lack of a better word, not really in the production or anything like that, but just like kind of standoffish and trying not to be so hooky and being dour and serious and all this. And I just found it a bummer.
Yeah, well, I mean, that thing, when did that come out? 96, I think.
95.
95,
95?
February 7th, 95, 100,000 copies sold.
Yeah, it
So
didn't do well
didn't
at
do
all.
that well out there.
Yeah, and yeah, that was in the midst of the grunge thing. Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to be a little contrarian, I guess, but my number 5 is the first record.
All right. Yeah.
Um, there's a couple of shining moments on that. Kid Ego is pretty cool. Play with Me. One thing about the band. I mean, they they were lumped in. I was going to talk about this later, but they were lumped in with the whole hair metal thing. But these guys were on another level. I mean, the musicianship of these guys is incredible. I mean, Nuno's the sort of the guitar hero and everything else. But if you listen to that track and how those guys are, I mean, all the sort of movements and changes within that song. I mean, these guys are playing their asses off. They're all exceptional musicians, and that track is just it's that song in Kid Ego kind of gives you a glimpse of like what's coming. The other songs on there, like they had that Mother, we don't want to go to school today. That's schlocky. That's just a typical, let's get on MTV kind of, get everybody singing kind of thing. Wasn't thrilled with that song. The other ones, I find them kind of, I don't know, just flat, not hooky. They don't do anything for me. They just kind of lay there outside of those two songs. And Play With Me, they got a little bit of exposure on that because they did use that song on Bill and Ted's on the Bill and Ted movie. But yeah, like the musicianship. I mean, I can talk about Nuno Betancourt. He is my favorite post Eddie Van Halen guitar player. You got before Eddie and then you got after Eddie. And for me, after Eddie, especially within a band context, he is incredible. But yeah, just that record. I mean, outside of those two cuts, just kind of lays there flat, for me. So that's my number 5. Yeah. All right. What do you got
Cool.
for 4, Pete?
I'm going to go with Waiting for the Punchline, number 4. I don't mind the songs. I actually kind of enjoy a good chunk of the tracks on here. There Is No God, Cynical, Hip Today Is Fun, Leave Me Alone, No Respect. I like it. They're fun songs. But to Martin's point, it is kind of like a dour and serious nature to the album. But for me, one of the reasons why I rank this so low is I absolutely hate the production on this album. It is really dry and lifeless. It's like they sucked all the life out of this band. You listen to the 3 albums that came before it, which are big and punchy, lots of fun. And then this is just like, I don't know what they were going for. But for me, it ruins, I think, what could have been a very, very solid album. And like I said, the songs I think are there, but it's just not appealing to the ears whatsoever. I don't like Nuno's guitar sound on this album. I don't like the way the drums are recorded. It just sounds really harsh and dry and sterile to me. So, and I've since the first time I heard it, I've had that issue with it. And it still sounds the same to my ears today. So that's my number 4.
I think Nuno produced that record. Am I off on that? Was he the producer on that record? He mixed a lot of the records. I don't know if he produced that one. And that's when they had Mike Mangini on drums, eh?
Him and Bob St. John worked on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that for sure.
Yeah, no good.
Yeah. All right. What do we got for number 4, Martin?
Okay, so for number 4, I'm going to go with Ciudades de Rock. I really like the eccentric, strange kind of lo-fi Led Zeppelin-y production on this, especially on the drums. This is where we've got Kevin Figueiredo on drums. But he does a lot of cool Bonham-y things. So even at the drum end, you're kind of entertained on it. But the funny thing about this album, I made some notes here, and I remember feeling this when it came out. I literally think that they actually started doing a few things that sounded like other songs and then decided, hey, let's conceptually do that on a bunch of songs. So on the first one, Star, you get Tie Your Mother Down. Second one, Comfortably Dumb, you get Nazareth Changing Times and a bit of Montrose. Learn to Love, you get the Wonton song plus that Bad Company part in it. Take Us Alive, Led Zeppelin, Candy Store Rock. Run, Led Zeppelin again plus David Bowie Fame. And then later on, I hear little Lenny Kravitz. What else we got here? John Lennon on the last one piece. So I like that they did all these cool things, and along the way your brain sparks up and notices these interesting riffs. So I think it's a little more to the point. It's got this cool, eccentric, weird production thing. It's almost like a radical thing that they were trying, and I'm kind of glad that they tried it. It's got the weird title, the weird cover, but yeah, just a lot of interesting, playful, strange kind of looks at rock history on it, which I think, like I say, after they did it a few times, I think they just said, let's do more of it. I mean, it's a weird theory, but that's what it sounds like. So there you go.
Yeah. That the translation for that is nostalgic yearnings of rock.
Oh yeah.
That's what the translation is. So that's
oh really for the title. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're basically, it's almost like they're going back to the roots. I think that was
so they did that on purpose, totally on purpose. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I never knew that. That's great.
Good catch there.
Yeah. So so just to kind of reiterate what Pete was saying, my number 4 is also Waiting for the Punchline. The production is so flat on this. I mean, it's just, there's no life. It, like you said, it's like they sucked the life out of,
where's all the balls they had before then, right? It's gone completely.
The big guitars, the big crunchy, vocals, like everything, it's like 2-dimensional. It's like there's no pop at all to that record. They were in the midst of grunge. What that album? I get like an Alice in Chains vibe off of that record. That sort of dark, murky kind of grungy kind of thing, right? Even I found Nuno's guitar was even a pretty more subdued on that. His playing in that. I mean, he does have Midnight Express on that, which is that acoustic instrumental that's just unfreaking believable. But even his playing is so, like, it just, everything is sort of way, way, way toned down. Because if you remember back at that time, it wasn't cool to be good on guitar, right? So that seemed to almost kind of, remember that, Pete?
That's true.
Yeah, that almost seemed to be kind of pulled in a little bit. The only song, I mean, there's a few songs I like on that. I do like Cynical. Cynical's a good tune. I like Leave Me Alone. For me, the song that sort of reminds me or harkens back to, or is the closest to what Extreme is all about, is probably just blanked out on the name. Shadow Boxing. That's the one that was kind of that could have been on another record. I was sort of in that, didn't kind of fit the rest of it. I thought that was a little better. One thing too that should be mentioned is the vocals. The harmonies that these guys do, like Gary, because all three of the front three guys sing, Pat Badger and Nuno's got a great voice as well, and Gary Sharon. These guys have, they're hitting on so many cylinders. They've got those great vocals, those great harmonies that they do, but for this record, they just really pulled it all back and just kind of went for minimalist, I guess is the real word I'm looking for. Minimalist in sound, minimalist in the songwriting. There's not there's not that adventurous thing with Nuno. I mean, Nuno, in one Nuno song, he puts enough riffs that would probably be a record for another band, and it doesn't have any of that on this record. So, but yeah, that's my number 4, Waiting for the Punchline. All right, let's go to number 3. What do you got, Pete?
I'm gonna go with the debut from '89. I mean, I like it. It's a fun, funky, guitar-heavy album. The vocals are great. I think even though Porno Graffiti is the first one I heard, going back and listening to that debut, these people doing a little bit different, which is pretty cool. And, unfortunately, nobody was really listening yet. But, other than some of the songs are a little kind of juvenile sounding, I still think, Kid Ego, Mother, Teacher's Pet, Flesh and Blood, there's a lot of good, fun stuff on there. And if you're into his guitar playing, which I am, there's plenty of it. I just they hadn't quite matured yet. I think it was with the second and third album when they really hit their stride. But I still, as a debut, I still think it's fun, and it sounds like the extreme that I kind of like, right? I mean, it's like whereas Waiting for the Punchline really doesn't. So for that, I got to kind of move it ahead of Waiting for the Punchline. But I think they had some growing to do, but as a debut, I think it's pretty strong.
I don't know, just me. I find there's a huge leap in their songwriting from the first record to the second.
Yep.
Like by leaps and bounds. Like they didn't take them long to figure out how to write a good tune. You could because the second record I think is leaps and bounds better than the first. But
I mean the first album, it sounds like a bunch of guys who are late teens, early 20s who just putting the band together, and it's like, hey, we just want to have fun and play some rock and roll, and that's what it sounds like. It's fun. It is fun. But the second album, it all clicked in a big way.
Huge way. Yeah. All right. What do we got for number 3, Martin?
Okay, so number 3 for me, I'm definitely going with the debut as well. 1989, sold 300,000 copies. So I think it's a really highly professional, polished hair metal album. I think the most hair metal thing about it is the absolutely blinding, pristine production. Everything's just locked down perfectly. The huge, almost inhuman, almost Def Leppard-like, but much, much better than Def Leppard backing vocals. A lot of really neat arrangements in that. Obviously, you've got this really interesting guitarist. I think Gary Sharon is a smart guy. I think anything that's kind of juvenile on here, it's definitely tongue in cheek, because I think they're literally almost writing down below their intelligence level. And on purpose. I mean, just because they have this vision of what kind of band they want to be. It's late in hair metal, but they're doing an absolutely like top shelf job of this specific, very, very sunny California, mid to late to even dog eat dog level Warrant kind of feel to it. They're obviously from Boston, and they've also got that funky thing where they're almost like the baby Aerosmith, or the next step after Aerosmith, just like Halloween's the baby Iron Maiden, that kind of idea, right? They're just like the young Dennis the Menaces, upstaging the old guys from town with just this huge amount of talent and really interesting songs. My favorites would be Big Boys Don't Cry, Teacher's Pet, Little Girls. I like Flesh and Blood's got a big Twisted Sister feel to it. I don't like when they do the Queen ballad thing. I don't care which album it's on. I just don't like it very much when they do that. I'd rather hear a Nuno ballad with guitar than a piano ballad out of this band. But I love all the heavy stuff on here. All the corporate hair metal, it's fine. I love it. I just think they do a really good job on, other than the album cover, on this, on the of doing this hair metal thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that they were sort of writing below their intelligence level, because their lyrics are really intelligent. They're not like, hey, baby, let's go party. None of that. It's like these guys are writing about some pretty heavy themes on some of their records, which sets up perfectly my number 3, which is 3 Sides to Every Story.
Okay.
So this record, I mean, it's talking about, intelligent lyrics. I mean, this record's about war, religion, politics. It's got 3 sides. There's you, me, and the truth, and it's broken into 3 different sections. Why this album for me doesn't rank higher is because the truth section for me it's too much. It just sounds a little bit overblown. Maybe, shall I say, a little pompous. Maybe it's too much. It starts off great, great rockin' tunes on it, and then it just kind of, But there's. I mean, it's a pretty long record. There's a lot of really good songs on it. I mean, let me just check my notes here real quick. Rest in Peace, Cupid's Dead, Tragic Comet, Our Father. It's super ambitious, Unfortunately, when the record came out, what year did that one come out? I think it was 92.
Yep.
So that really got kicked hard because that was the beginnings of grunge. So they got, lumped in with all the other heavy rock bands, and went out of favor. Album did not do well, but really ambitious record. Again, some incredible playing on it. Nuno plays keys as well, and there's a lot of that, and there's all kinds of harmonies and just some really really awesome intense songwriting. I mean, something like Tragic Comic, I mean, that song alone has got so much stuff. Like, their songs have so much. It's not prog, but it almost could be prog, you know what I mean, because of all the stuff that goes in any of their, in some of their songs. They're really, like, they're total high. That's the thing with the hair metal. I mean, why I don't like these, and they said it themselves. We're like a round peg in a square hole when we got that label. I mean, if you think of hair metal, for me, I'm thinking bands like Rat, Twisted Sister, Motley Crue. These guys are working at a way higher level in terms of musicianship. The songwriting. The depth of the topics they're covering. And they're just, I think, much much better musicians than most of those bands. But but yeah, that's so. If you took the Truth away, this would have probably ranked higher, because that sort of, for me, that kind of brings it down a little bit. Those that sinks it a little bit lower than it should be. But yeah, that's my number 3. Yeah,
Nice.
All right, what do we got for a number 2, Pete?
Well, if you would have asked me this question back in 1994 or 5, I probably would not have it ranked this way. But these days, Pornography is my number 2. It's the first one I heard. I loved it back in the day. I still do. Guitar orama all over the place on this. This is like quite the onslaught of some riffage that is at the time was, I think we all did a kind of like an about face when we heard this album. And, that voice and songs like Decadence Dance and Get the Funk Out, title track, Susie, When I'm President, Money. I mean, all this stuff is just like, there's just grooves that never end and riffs that never end. The solos are virtuoso. And, and then you have those 2 ballads, right? Which for me, all right, they are what they are, but you could take them off the album. I still would think the album is great. And everything about it is just a good, fun album that I listened to a ton back in the day. These days, I think I like the other one that's going to be my number 1 just a little bit better. And I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
Nice.
Martin, what do you got for number 2?
Okay, so for number 2, I went with Pornography as well. There's a vinyl copy of that, US copy. You don't see that too often. There's a CD of it. So yeah, love this album to death. It went double platinum, triple platinum in Canada, August 7th, 1990. I agree with everything Pete said, and also Hack, what you've been saying about it as well. The guitar is amazing on it. The production's amazing. It's just absolutely joyous and buoyant from start to finish. It's just got so much entertaining funky groove to it. It's like Aerosmith on steroids, right? And Aerosmith in terms of it's almost like a robot version of Aerosmith, like a cyborg $6 million man version of Aerosmith, right? The guitars are molten; they sound great. Of the ballads, I'm not a big More Than Words fan, but I love Wholehearted. Perfectly fine with that one. But yeah, all the heavy songs on here just so anthemic, right? Decadence Dance with that great drum beat with the counterpoint hi-hat thing going on it. Get the Funk Out, actually, going back to what we said originally, that probably is actually the first thing I did hear on it as well. I love When I'm President. Reminds me of Alice Cooper Elected, right? Kind of a cool thing. It's a Monster. I mean, you just say these titles and the songs just go through your head.
Yeah, you just hear them.
Just so well done. But yeah, it's interesting. 1990 on this. Did I say the debut is 89, right?
89.
The debut is 89. So this is 1990, which is actually, hair metal still got a couple years left in it. This actually sounds to me like a 1992 hair metal album. It's that good. It's that ahead of the pack in 1990. Which is why it was such a huge success. Obviously, More Than Words as well, but it had a lot more obviously going for it than More Than Words. So yeah, just thinking about it, to have this come out in 1990, it's a couple years ahead of when hair metal bands were turning in their absolute masterpieces at the very end of the run, thinking we're going to be extinct soon. We got to try as hard as we can to make the best album we can. So that's your 91, 92 feel for hair metal. And to see this come out in 1990, really impressive. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, I mean, their first record was '89, and in a year's time, look what they turned out from. If you look at the first one compared to the second, huge leap. So I think this is a three-peat, guys. This is also my number 2.
All right.
Yeah. Oh man, what a great record! Everything you guys said. It's just a fun record. It rocks so hard. Nuno is just on fire. And, he's got the vocalist that can keep up. Gary Sharon is a damn fine singer, man. That guy is just pitch perfect, nailing it. And live, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a Blu-ray called Take Us Alive, which is a concert that they did in, I think, 2010 and around that. There you go. So that's where, 2010?
Promo version of it. Yeah, double album. What does it say here? I think it's live in 2009.
Oh, 2000. Okay.
August 2009, House of Blues in Boston.
Yeah, that's a
Kevin's the drummer on it already.
If you want it, like for me, that's one of the best live videos of any band. I mean, these guys are just insane. Holy crap. Just really, really good. But and I think the first song they play is Decadence Dance, then, all right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the album is great. It's the first one I heard. Again, get the funk out. That solo is a freaking masterpiece. And everything. I'm just looking over my notes. You guys pretty much covered it all. It really showcases the band's versatility. There's a funk song in there. There's a rock song in there. They get kind of like folky. The vocals. I mean, it's just. Yeah, just one of those albums you can just put on and, on a nice hot summer day and just let it go. And you're going to hear some great, great tunes back to back. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites anyways. So, yeah, that's number 2. So we're down to number 1.
Yeah, so before I divulge my number 1, I was just kind of thinking about this. Do you guys remember when at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, when these guys came on, if I remember correctly, they were first and they just like blew everybody away. And you knew these guys were going to be absolute stars. I mean, they knew it. The audience knew it. And I was like, yeah, this band is really going to go places. And they started to, and then they never did.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's a shame, man. Yeah, exactly.
Well, Pornography went double platinum. So they were pretty big, right?
Yeah, it just didn't last though,
Yeah.
They were 5 years too late.
Yeah, like Hack says, they're definitely too late. I mean, the next album goes gold, but it's again 2 more years pass, right?
Yeah. So my number 1, again, if you would have asked me this 25 years ago, I wouldn't have said, I definitely would not have been number 1. But I think what kind of like went over my head a little bit back in 1992 now is, to me, their crowning achievement. I love the whole concept of this album. I like the fact that they it's in 3 different acts that all sound really different from each other. And I think it all kind of works. And yeah, maybe at the back end, the whole truth part of it is really kind of like, it's just so different than what came before. I don't mind it at all. You got the Yours part of it, Warheads and Political Calamity and Cupid's Dead and Peacemakers Die, and then you got the really melodic, almost kind of proggy midsection, and then the kind of sweeping finale. I don't know. I think there's so much genius on this album, and maybe it's not focused and just kick ass like the album that came before it, but I think that these guys were really kind of hitting on all cylinders, and the creative juices are really flowing, and they're figuring out like, hey, we're a real band. We don't need to just stay in that whole funk metal thing. We can do all these different things. We have the talent to do it. But 1992, is anybody wanting this in 1992? Unfortunately not. They put this out like maybe around the same time that Queensryche puts out Operation Mindcrime. Maybe it does huge business, late 80s. But in 1992, no. And I hated this when it came out. And it took me a long time to realize just how great this album actually is. So it's a shame that this kind of started the kind of downward descent as far as like the, you know, the masses' perception of this band. But this is a stunning achievement that if there's anybody watching who never really gave this one a chance, re-listen to it. It actually holds up really, really well. And there's some fantastic material on it.
Yeah. So the harmonies and on the mellow stuff between it yeah, that stuff. I mean, Queen, you could tell that they were hugely influenced by Queen when they
Absolutely.
do that kind of stuff. Yeah. All right, Martin, what do we got for number one?
For number one, I'm definitely also going with Three Sides to Every Story. Wow. You know, this reminds me a little bit about, although it's a little different, the Tea Party. I actually thought, you know, oh, this is a bunch of pretentious Canadian guys on Splendor Solace or whatever. I hate this band, right? And then by the time Edges of Twilight came out, I'm like, okay, you guys are rock gods. You're three of the wisest people I know in the world. You're geniuses. Everything you do is on a Led Zeppelin level from now on. So it's like a complete about face on Tea Party from like this is offensive to me to you guys are like the wise swamis of rock of all time. Extreme, it wasn't like that. Extreme, it was like, boy, you guys are a really cool band. But when it came to this, it's like, okay, I buy into it as you guys as geniuses now. You guys can do whatever you want. You can do something super Queen-like or Beatle-esque, and I'm not going to think, it's not going to wrinkle my nose and make me think you're pretentious at all. I'm just like, I bought in. You guys are geniuses. Just like when U2 happened in a big way to the world, right? It's like, oh my God, the messiahs are here sort of thing, right? Same kind of thing. So when it came to this, when they took that extra step and went over the top and left the hair metal thing and just came up with these exquisite arrangements in all manner of music at great production, again, probably their best production. I just bought in wholesale. It's like I was completely on board. It's like, yes, hair metal band, take a new direction. I'm with you. And that didn't happen with most of them, right? It's like we all complained about what Warrant did, or Def Leppard, or Dokken, or Motley Crue. There's all these famous examples of not buying in, right? Kiss, maybe Carnival of Souls, whatever. I love that album. But here it's like, okay, I'm with you because you guys are amazing. But what you said, Hack, was really interesting. I totally agree with you. You know, when it gets to the truth side, that's where it's like a little bit too long and a little bit too mellow. But everything leading up to that, those 11 songs, yeah, if they would have just stopped right there, you probably still would have had a 55, 60-minute album. Actually, yeah, you would, because everything on side one is 5 or 6 minutes long.
Yeah, it's a long album. It's pushing down.
Yeah, beautifully done. The way they massage in acoustic guitar with the other things, Gary's vocals, his lyrics. Like I say, you know, a lot of people might find some of this pretentious for a quote unquote hair metal band, or pretentious if you're just not into it, this kind of music. But not me. I was like loving the mature kind of thing. It's a little like that Saigon Kick thing, right? It's Saigon Kick's a little bit like Extreme right out of the gates. They're like arriving late. It's super creative. I'm on board. But this, yeah, to me, this is a real masterpiece.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, if they just shaved a little bit off the end, maybe. I don't know. When we get to the end, it's like, oh, when's it going to end? Anyway, that's just me. So I have the total contrarian number one, and you guys really surprised me that this didn't rank any higher. But this is my number one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, Martin.
You know, but let me state my case. Here's why it's my number one. That record has no agenda. There is no theme. We're just going to put together write some great songs, and we're going to honor all our influences, and we're going to put them in one album. And that's what that record is. I mean, that record it's got more hooks than, I don't know, a fish and tackle store. Every song is a hook, multiple hooks. And it really shows off A, their influences, and B, man, their versatility, because they got everything on this record, you know. I'm just going to look at my notes here real quick. Yeah, no theme, all kinds of hooks. For me, this is almost the perfect album for me. It's almost perfect. There's just a couple of cuts that are like don't make it perfect, but it's near perfect record for me. Showcases a versatile. Here's what I'm talking about in terms of versatility. You got a song like Ghost, which is incredible, and there's your ballad. Take Us Alive. You mentioned Candy Store Rock. For me, that reminds me of Hot Dog.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you got that sort of country kind of tune there. Learn to Love Learn to Love is a funky tune. You got the straight ahead rockers like Run and Comfortably Dumb, and those riffs are that riff to Comfortably Dumb. That is killer, man. Just Nuno and those riffs. The guy's just like he's a riff machine. Last Hour is their closest thing that I would call to a blues song. Flower Man is sort of their new kind of new wavy, tune. And then the last song on the record's absolutely gorgeous, this piece. And when Nuno gets on the keyboards, which he does keyboards on a few of these tracks, and especially there on the last one, when he gets on the keyboards and he starts harmonizing with Gary Sharon, it's just magic. I mean, it's a shame that this record came out in 2008. It's like, oh, do more of this, and it came out in 2008, and we're what, when's the next record going to come out? Every interview I've seen with them, it's oh yeah, the record, yeah, it's done, yeah, we're putting on the final track on, or a couple more vocals. Like, when is this next record going to come out? Because if they just keep doing just collections of great songs. Oh, I should mention King of the Ladies. Oh man, that is such a fun tune. I don't know if you guys saw that video. There's a video for that song as well. It's just it's this, and singing it, it's like, it's the extreme sense of humor, which is hilarious. But yeah, that record top to bottom is just, I love it. Yeah. So that's my number one.
You got to wonder how many.
King of the Ladies. I had put down Big Bonham beat, then a weird grungy blues, a bit hip hop too.
Yeah. Again, another style, right? I mean, these guys can do it all, man. Sorry, Pete, you're going to say something.
How many like casual extreme fans, or at least folks who were like fairly big fans back when they first hit, probably don't even know that album ever came out.
Yeah, exactly.
Got no fanfare whatsoever.
No fanfare. I've not heard any. I've not heard any of these songs on the radio. I don't even know what was the single off this record. Was there a single? Was Ghost?
I think it's Star. I think it was
Star.
Star.
Was the single? That's another great one.
I seem to remember that being somewhat pushed in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Nobody knows this record even exists.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite of the five. So.
Well, the new one's done, right? Apparently,
it's done, or it's near done, or I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're waiting. Maybe it's because they don't have do they even have a recording contract anymore? I mean, I don't know how these guys are operating now.
Who knows what to expect? It's 13 years later, right? So
yeah.
No,
I know. So anyway, if anyone's got any comments, I am looking at the chat right now. Throw a bunch of question marks in front of your comment. But yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show is same reason why I wanted to, when we did the Thin Lizzy show. It's like this is again one of those bands that probably got missed, in the shuffle, right? If you missed out on the Porno Graffiti, then you never heard anything else from these guys. So hopefully this will, get some people to maybe give these guys a listen. You heard all our picks. Everyone's got their favorites. There's really nowhere to. Nowhere you could go wrong to start. So I don't see any question marks coming up. Alrighty. Well, if no one has any questions, I think we're going to wrap this up. Okay, cool. So so I've got, by the way, I should mention, I've got links to Pete's channel, Sea of Tranquility, and Pete, congratulations on the 20 million views. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, got the link for Pete's channel below. I'm getting up to 500,000. I got quite a ways to go. Nice. But anyways, I have a link to Pete's channel below. And Pete, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Yeah, coming up right after this in the Proxy tonight, Tuesday night show. So that'll be coming up tonight, where we're going to be, me and the crew will be talking about our favorite American U.S. prog bands and favorite album from each. So that's coming up just in a little while. So stay tuned for that.
All right, cool. Martin, what you got cooking?
Nothing much, just kind of working on a few books. I just finished a book on the Damned and turned that in, and otherwise just kind of writing away, waiting for the Nazareth, the big coffee table book to come, which I'm going to get in with the Yes book. People are asking me about the Yes one, but I just waited. It was too stressful getting these things imported, so I'm just going to get them both at once. That's it. MartinPopoff.com.
And before I forget, join Martin and I Friday morning on Sea of Tranquility, where we're doing part 2 of what has proven to be a very popular topic, albums that most people seem to hate, but we really like. So stay tuned for that Friday morning.
So I have Martin's link below as well. And if you want to help support the Guitar Hack channel, I have links for merch like t-shirts and hoodies and hats and all that good stuff. There's also a PayPal down there. Much appreciated. If you don't follow me on Facebook, I have my Facebook. I got a Guitar Hack page, Guitar Hack group. There's also an Instagram down there. So go and make sure you check those out. We will be doing this next month. If you guys are cool, I got a topic. We'll talk off air. That's probably the next live show I'll be doing. I will be going live actually this Saturday night at 10 o'clock if you want to join me for a hang, playing some guitar. Should also mention I've got a bunch of music out on all your streaming services. Search Guitar Hack. I've got a dozen original songs there. Go over and have those listen, and that would be much appreciated. All right, cool. So thanks, Pete. Thanks, Martin, for joining me once again. And cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.